Hello, welcome to another episode of Messy Magic. I'm your host, Nadee Guy, and I find myself with a few spare minutes while my son's playing a game on Apple TV, and I wanted to record this episode because I feel like it's something that might be helpful if you've been feeling a bit overwhelmed or you sense that it might be coming, because I feel like this is a theme at the moment in a lot of the conversations I'm having with women, that a lot of us have been feeling the same. So thank you for pressing play. Thank you, as always, for listening. If you're a regular listener, and if you're new, a beautiful, big, warm welcome. This is the podcast where I try to keep it as real as possible and also give you tips and insights to live a more intentional, more beautiful life, even in the face of all our human messiness and imperfections, because no one's life is perfect. Believe it or not. So I'll jump right into the content today because I don't know how long I've got. Basically, I've been feeling a little bit, overwhelmed is the most appropriate word, I think, lately, and also a bit spread thin. I feel like I've got all these balls in the air, or maybe to use the plate spinner analogy. I feel like I'm a plate spinner and I've got all these plates spinning at the same time, and I just don't feel like I'm doing anything particularly well. And it's things like, even this podcast is one of them. Running the household, doing meal planning and cooking. We have a cafe that my husband and I own and help to run. And so that's something that needs my attention here and there. It's not something I'm in every day, but it does need work. I'm a copywriter, and so I need to do work for my current ongoing client and also new clients, as well as my coaching business. And I'm in the middle of launching this program, Effortless, end of year, which I'm really excited about, but I find myself in the middle of this, what I'm calling a launch, finding that I really haven't talked about the program all that much, so I can't expect people to know about it. I'm also a mum of a 5-year-old who is in the process of finishing preschool and getting ready to go to school next year. Plus it's, getting towards the end of November, so we've got Christmas coming, lots of things to think about and organise, and self-care. I really prioritise looking after myself. I really value getting really good quality sleep, exercise, eating well, drinking well. So, as I'm talking about this, it feels very first world problems. Very sort of boo-hoo, you've got so many problems, Nadee. And that's not what I'm trying to say. I guess I'm just explaining the context of this conversation of feeling like I've got a lot going on and I don't feel like I'm doing anything particularly well. I'm skimming across the surface of everything. And in addition to that, that's kind of the practical. And then this undercurrent of emotion, all the emotions tied with all of those things, especially my son transitioning into big school next year, and then also just the huge amount of pain and suffering that there is in the world at the moment, and just feeling so inadequate to do anything about it, which is not the topic of this podcast. And I would love to do another podcast about that and how we interface with today's world affairs. But anyway, there's this kind of undercurrent of emotion and kind of heaviness. And then this feeling then of kind of a shame and a guilt about like, well, these are all very superficial problems to have. And I wouldn't necessarily call them problems. It's just the reality of my life at the moment. And as I talk, I can hear my son calling out to me from the lounge room. So I'm just going to pause for a sec. Okay, I'm back. I will mention at this point as well that there might be background noise. I know we're 5.5 minutes in, but I'm recording this on my phone because my computer is so overloaded, apparently with files, that it just is really loud at the moment. It's whirring, so I can't record using my microphone because, anyway, it just doesn't work. So you may be able to hear more background noise than normal, but this is how I started the podcast, on my phone, and I love recording it this way. Anyway, it's really much more portable. So getting back to where I was at, I guess that's the context of what was going on this morning, and it all kind of came to a bit of a head when I dropped my son off, and I was just feeling so tense. And I drove away from dropping him off, which drop-off went pretty well, but I drove away and I started to do my magical morning recording, which I've done an episode about before. I will link it in the show notes, but it's a practice that I try to do as many mornings as I can because I feel like it sets me up for the day. And I started talking, recording myself, and I got really emotional and really upset and really angry and frustrated, and it kind of all started to come out of me, to the point where I didn't know what to do next. I felt just overwhelmed. I didn't know what to focus on, although I did know that I was taking myself for a run because I knew that moving my body, and especially kind of allowing my emotions and this energy that I had inside of me to come out through physical movement would really help me. And so this is where I get to the helpful part of the episode, because I have 3 tips or 3 things that I did today that really helped me to move through the overwhelm and to come to a place of more balance and a bit more grounding, and to feel like I was able to function better and to, face the world and to kind of actually focus a little bit today, and get a little bit done. Because one of the things that I didn't mention before but was contributing to my overwhelm was this immense feeling of not having enough time to get everything done. And I know there are many people who feel this way. It's something that many mothers feel, but it's not just mothers, it could be anybody. There's so much to do, and there is only a certain amount of time that we have to get it done. And I just felt like my time was so squeezed. And that was one of the things contributing to how I was feeling. So here are my 3 practical tips that you can use if you're feeling overwhelmed or just pushed to your limit, I suppose. Now, number 1 is the very first step I took, which was to go for a run out in nature. Now, I'm very lucky to live in a town where we have very easy access to walking tracks and trails in nature, and it's just one of my happy places. I had my exercise gear on, my shoes. I popped in my earbuds. I decided to listen to a podcast, but I also was aware that I wasn't, I was kind of also taking in my surroundings because I know nature can be so healing. So I also was sort of listening to the birds and the trees, and it was beautiful. And just moving your body, whether it's a run or whether it's a walk, dance, an exercise class, swim, anything that really gets the blood pumping is such a great way to help you move through any experience, but especially overwhelm and just feeling this pressure. And so I had a really great run, listened to a podcast and ran through trees. I was just like enveloped in trees, and then I ran out along the ocean, and it was really, really great. Plus I got my workout in for the day. So if you can move your body in nature, that's even better. But if you have to do it indoors or in a city or wherever you have to do it, it's definitely a great step to take when you can, because not all of us have the time and the opportunity to do that. But I would say prioritize it as much as you can. There are so many healing benefits of nature as well, which I have talked about before too, but things like lowering stress levels, helping our immune system, and it's just good for our nervous system, which really helps us regulate and deal with life. So that's tip number 1, exercise, preferably in nature. Number 2 is to check in with your body. And you could do this even before or after exercise or whenever you have the chance. But as an embodiment coach, I'm very aware of the messages and the wisdom that my body holds. And I'm also, I've grown my sensitivity to my inner world and what's going on internally for me in terms of emotion, sensation, energy, and just all the thoughts that are kind of running through my head, which this morning were absolutely rampant. My brain was on overload. And so slowing that down, and instead of living in your mind and just going through the thoughts, dropping down into your body and giving it some time and some awareness to just be, whatever it is, without trying to fix it, just spending some time checking in, going, what's going on for me today? What am I feeling? What am I sensing? What's my energy? And just as much as feels safe, allowing it to be there and welcoming it and inviting it to share with you what needs to be known. This is something that is a big part of the feminine embodiment coaching process. So if you were to do a session with me, this is very much one of the tools that we use, dropping into the body and being present with what's here today. And you will be astounded if you haven't done it before, especially, but I don't know, it was just such an awakening for me when I learned this process of checking in. And once you kind of do check in and you get to that place of awareness and spending time with yourself and what's going on, you can then offer yourself some compassion and some empathy. Instead of, pushing your feelings aside or trying to push through, just giving it some space and giving it some validation, because I feel like a lot of the time we don't give ourselves that, and it is so valuable to be able to validate yourself and to say to yourself, I see this is what's going on, or this is how you're feeling. Let's just spend some time with that. It's okay that you're feeling that way. And it's so, so powerful. So just checking in with yourself to sort of spend some time and see what's really going on under the surface, because something might come up that gives you the power to deal with it differently, maybe. For me, there was nothing new that came to the surface. I was I was already aware of a lot of what I was feeling. But what it did do was also then give me the momentum to move into step 3, or my tip number 3, which was to check in with my intentions. And the intentions that I'm referring to are these intentions that I crystallized for myself recently, just in the last few days. But they're big ones. They are what I intend to guide me through the next year, through 2024. And they are in alignment with the kind of life that I want to live. So I have these 2 intentions that I have written and that I have kind of, that I know now, like where I'm heading. One's personal, one is professional. And so checking in with those and going like, how does what I'm feeling right now or what I'm experiencing right now compare with what my intentions are? And how can I realign my current experience? How can I change what I'm thinking and feeling and doing to be more aligned with my intentions so that I'm actually moving in the direction of the life that I want to create? And this was really powerful too, because particularly when it comes to my professional intention and the work that I want to get done, one of my intentions is being very focused and only focusing on the stuff that is going to help, that's going to move the needle in the direction that I want it to go, and like scheduling in time to do those powerful actions and leaving all the rest to the side. And that is so hard for me to do. I am such a, like if I have a list of things to get done, if I don't get all the things done on the list, I don't feel complete. Something that I know is a challenge for me. And so revisiting this idea of like letting things go that aren't the top of the list, like the most important things, I'm allowed to do that. And especially when I have limited time, I need to make the most of my time, get the absolute most important things done, the most potent actions, and then feel guilt-free about letting the rest go. So checking in with my intentions was really useful as well. Now, when it comes to intentions, I actually have recorded an embodied intention setting process for you if you would like it. I'm going to do a separate podcast episode about this, but I want to mention it now because it's relevant to what I'm talking about. So it's literally the process that I went through. Like I recorded it for myself, then I actually listened back to it and walked through the steps to experience it before I released it to the world. And that's how I came up with these intentions that I'm referring to in this episode. So if you want to get your hands on that recording, it's on my website, nadiguy.co/intentions. And you'll get the recording as well as a PDF that goes along with it. And together, they're designed to set you up for the new year. But really, it's for any time. I imagine you could use it if you were transitioning into a new season of life, if you were starting a new project. Really, it could be used. I've recorded it in a way that it can be used at different phases. I just happen to love New Year's intentions and planning, so that's how I'm using this one. So that was number 3, is checking in with my intentions and realigning. Now, the last thing I want to say is that this process was not perfect, and it wasn't, it didn't make everything sunshine and rainbows. But what it did do was it vastly improved how I was feeling, how I was able to set myself up for the rest of the day. I feel so much more grounded now than I did earlier. And I think it's really powerful, and I hope that it can help you as well. And maybe it might be a little thing to keep in your back pocket if you are facing any kind of overwhelm or time pressure, to really take a step back for a moment and reset yourself to handle things more gracefully. If you're listening to this in real time towards the end of November 2023, as I mentioned earlier, I currently have an offer out there for a 2-month coaching program across December and January. It's called Effortless End of Year, and it's a 1-to-1 coaching program with weekly coaching sessions. And it's all about deeply checking in with yourself and your desires, and getting close to the kind of life that you really want to be living, understanding yourself better, ultimately creating an end of year season that feels beautiful to you, that feels effortless. And then also moving into the new year with sound intentions, and setting yourself up to really know what you're going for next year and how to stay on track, what to do when you fall off track. I say when, not if, because I think it happens to all of us, and we need to know how to reset ourselves and realign. So if you're interested in that, you can check out the details, nadiguy.co/effortless. I'll put that link in the show notes as well. And I'm going to leave it there for today because I think I can hear my son calling to me again from the lounge room. So I will go and check in with him. But in the meantime, I hope this has been valuable for you, and I hope you have a magical day. I'll talk to you again soon.